path of neglect. Jack was a man of contradictions. On the surface, he seemed ordinary. A young adult living in a small, unremarkable town nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers. But beneath his affable demeanor lay a simmering dissatisfaction with life, one that he masked with indifference. Jack often claimed he was unlucky, that the world had conspired against him, and that his dreams, though grand, were out of reach because of circumstances beyond his control. Jack's day-to-day life was a testament to inertia. He spent his mornings scrolling aimlessly through his phone, afternoons lounging on a worn-out couch, and evenings complaining to friends about opportunities that never came. When his parents suggested he take up a part-time job at the local library, he scoffed, dismissing it as beneath him. "I'm meant for bigger things," he would say, though what those bigger things were, even he didn't know. Despite their frustration, Jack's family continued to encourage him. His mother, a retired teacher, often reminded him, "Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work for it." But her words fell on deaf ears. Jack's mantra was simple. Why try if failure is inevitable? One rainy afternoon, Jack sat in a dimly lit cafe, staring out the window as droplets streaked the glass. His childhood friend, Ethan, joined him, ordering coffee with an easy smile. Ethan was the opposite of Jack. Optimistic, proactive, and relentlessly driven. He had recently started a small carpentry business and often shared stories of his progress. "Jack," Ethan said, his tone gentle but firm, "you've got so much potential. Why not channel it into something meaningful? Start small. Just one step." Jack rolled his eyes. "Not everyone has your luck, Ethan. Some of us are stuck in places we can't escape." Ethan frowned but chose not to argue. Instead, he left Jack with a parting thought. Luck might open doors, but effort keeps them open. Days turned into weeks, and Jack's habits remained unchanged. He grew increasingly isolated as friends like Ethan drifted away, frustrated by his refusal to act. One by one, doors closed in Jack's life. A job opportunity at a nearby factory, a budding romance that ended in disappointment, and even the trust of his parents, who began to distance themselves emotionally. One evening, after a particularly heated argument with his father, Jack found himself wandering aimlessly through the streets. The air was crisp, the stars obscured by thick clouds. He stumbled upon a quiet park where an elderly man sat feeding birds. The man, noticing Jack's troubled expression, beckoned him over. Reluctantly, Jack sat down. The man introduced himself as Mr. Harrington and shared a story about his own youth. A time when he, too, had been lost, blaming the world for his failures. "I learned the hard way," Mr. Harrington said, "that life doesn't change unless you do. Complaining won't move mountains, but effort and belief just might." Jack didn't respond, but the words lingered. For the first time in years, a seed of doubt crept into his convictions. Could it be that his struggles weren't solely the fault of the world? As Jack left the park that night, he felt an unfamiliar tug within him. A mix of guilt, curiosity, and the faintest glimmer of hope. For now it was just a feeling, but it was enough to plant the possibility of change. The path of transformation. In the same town where Jack grappled with inertia, there lived Sarah, a woman who understood struggle but refused to be defined by it. Her life had not been easy. Growing up in a modest household with limited resources, she had learned early on that the world offered no guarantees. However, where others saw obstacles, Sarah saw challenges to be conquered. Sarah's journey of transformation began in her final year of high school. A particularly stern teacher, Mrs. Calloway, had assigned the class a daunting project: map out a 5-year life plan. Most of her peers treated the task as a formality, scribbling vague dreams about fame, fortune, or simply coasting through life. But Sarah took it seriously. Sitting at her small wooden desk late into the night, she wrestled with her thoughts. She knew she wanted more than the life her parents had endured, one of endless work with little reward. But how? The answers came slowly. She would focus on education, embrace opportunities, and most importantly, refuse to succumb to despair. Her first step was small but symbolic. She committed to waking up an hour earlier each day to read. The local library became her sanctuary, its shelves brimming with knowledge and inspiration. Books on personal growth, biographies of great leaders, and even simple how-to guides filled her mornings. Every page turned felt like a step forward, a quiet rebellion against stagnation. Despite her determination, Sarah's path wasn't without conflict. Her classmates mocked her for skipping social events to study or for working part-time at the town diner to save money for college. "You're wasting your youth," one girl sneered. But Sarah met their derision with quiet resolve, knowing that their words stemmed from their own insecurities. Her efforts began to bear fruit. By the time she graduated, Sarah had secured a scholarship to a nearby community college. There, she balanced her studies with internships, slowly building a network of mentors and peers who believed in her potential. She embraced every challenge as a chance to grow, from public speaking assignments that terrified her to math courses that tested her patience. Years passed, and Sarah's consistent efforts transformed her into a beacon of hope within the community. She returned to her hometown, not as the shy girl many remembered, but as a confident entrepreneur who had started her own consulting business. Her success was not measured by wealth alone but by the lives she touched, mentoring local youth, organizing workshops, and volunteering at the library where her journey began. One day, at a community event, Sarah noticed a familiar figure standing on the sidelines: Jack. He looked older, his once carefree demeanor replaced by weariness. When their eyes met, Sarah smiled warmly and walked over. "You're Sarah, right?" Jack asked hesitantly, his voice tinged with embarrassment. She nodded, her tone kind but curious. "And you're Jack. I remember you from school. How have you been?" Jack hesitated, then admitted, "Not great. I've made a lot of mistakes. But I want to change." Sarah's smile widened. "Then let's talk about how you can start."